We've spent a good deal of time in this section working with and configuring both Babel and Webpack, and that's because I truly believe they are great tools for you to be using in your applications, even if this is your first time ever working with JavaScript, because they allow us to use those latest cutting-edge features. So thanks for bearing with me as we move through this configuration process, and keep in mind that what we're doing here is building something that has lasting value. We're creating a boilerplate project. So when we do want to start a new web app, we don't have to go through the process of configuring all of this stuff again. We simply take this boilerplate directory, copy and paste it, and we're off and running with a new project. So while yes, we do have to do this once, writing a Webpack config file from scratch is something I almost never do anymore. I have my boilerplate. When I want to start a new project, I just copy it, sometimes making small tweaks to fit my specific needs. The good news too is that we're almost done with our Webpack configuration. In this video, I finally want to address the warning we've been seeing since the very beginning. This warning is complaining about the mode option in Webpack that hasn't been set. Now it gives us a little information. The mode option has not been set. Webpack will fall back to production for the value. Set mode option to development or production to enable defaults for each environment. So this is telling us to specify if we're trying to use Webpack for development or production. Development would be us on our local machine. We're making changes to files and we want to see those changes reflected as fast as possible. Production is something we would only run every so often when we're actually ready to get a new copy of the public folder that we could put on a web server. Each comes with their own set of advantages. Obviously, when we're working in development, our biggest concern is being able to work quickly. So the changes get reflected as fast as possible. Webpack runs really quick. When we run things in production, Webpack takes way longer, about 10 times as long, but that's okay because we only run production every so often. The file it spits out is smaller and more efficient, and this is what we want for production mode. So we're going to be using development mode when we run the dev server, and we're going to be using production when we run our other script. And setting this up to actually remove this warning is super easy. Over in package.json, all we have to do is provide a command line argument. Right here, we're going to set that up after Webpack dev server. This one is mode, so -- mode. Then we provide its value. Now for this one, we are trying to run in development mode since we are using the local dev server. So development would go right after there. Down below, we're going to create a separate command for production. So right here, we'll bring back into the mix the build command we had previously. The build command is just going to run Webpack, and we're going to run Webpack with the mode flag. And this time, we're going to be setting mode to production. And there we go. That's actually all we have to do to tell Webpack which mode we want to run in. Let's go ahead and switch over to the terminal, rerun our commands, and see that warning disappear. I'm going to shut things down. I'm going to rerun the dev server script. This is going to run the Webpack dev server again. Once again, it goes through the process of setting up the server and generating the bundle. And at the very bottom, we can see the warning is gone. It's also gone from the terminal, meaning that we've correctly specified the mode. We're going to do the same thing with our production build. So to generate the actual physical bundle.js file we need, we will run from the terminal npm run build. And remember, we only need to do this when we're done making all of the changes for whatever new feature we're trying to add, and we're ready to get a copy of the app we can actually upload to one of those services to change the version that people run when they visit the app in the browser. So right here, we can see that things have been built, and we have a physical bundle.js file over in the Visual Studio Code tree. Now you would be ready to take everything inside of public, put it on your web server, and you would have a new version of your production application deployed. Now there is one more topic I want to talk about in this video, and to illustrate the problem that we're going to solve, I just want to add a console.log into one of our files like utilities.js. We can add it wherever we want. It's not important. I'm just going to put a console.log right here with a little message, something along the lines of from my code. Then we're going to save utilities.js, and we're going to go ahead and start up the dev server once again. Once the dev server is up, we'll refresh the browser, and then we can start having this discussion about the new topic I want to talk about. So down below, we get all of the expected output. we have our forConsole.logs from index.js, we have the one from utilities.js, and we'll even notice that the dev tools are showing us that. It shows us exactly which file the log is coming from and which line it's coming from as well. This can be really useful information as we debug complex applications. It can be really nice to be able to find where in the code something's coming from, whether it's a message like these here or an error from something going wrong. The only problem with the developer tools is that if we actually click one of those files, it's not going to give us accurate information. So right here, if we click that, it shows our console.log on line 18 of that file. If we were to actually go over there and look for it, we would realize that utilities.js doesn't even have 18 lines. The last line is line 10. So clearly, while this file looks similar, it's not exactly what we have over here, and that's because this is the compiled file that actually runs in the browser. This is after Babel runs through it. So we can see that add has been converted to a regular function, unlike the arrow function we've used here. We can see the same thing is true for square. We'll also notice that our variable types went from const to var to provide a wider range of browser support as expected. Obviously, we still want these things to be converted, but when it comes to debugging our application in the browser's dev tools, it would be nice if we got more useful information. It would be nice, for example, if this said utilities.js line 10, which is indeed accurate, line 9, which is indeed accurate. Now, there is a way to do this, and it is by enabling something called a source map. A source map contains a bunch of information that allows the browser to map the compiled code, so the code we see here, back to the original source from which it came. That's going to make it way easier to work with our Webpack projects using the browser developer tools. And the good news is that we can set it up in Webpack with a single line of configuration. Over inside of the Webpack config file, we're going to add a new root property onto the file, and this one is called dev tool, and we're going to be setting this equal to a string source-map. Now we can actually save the config file and restart the dev server. Anytime you save the config, you do have to manually restart whatever Webpack process you have running. I'm going to shut things down. I'm going to boot them up again. Once it's up and running, I'll manually refresh the browser. And right here, what do we see? Well, we see the same output we had before, but on the right-hand side, we are now seeing accurate line and numbers. So if I'm wondering where this is coming from, I can see it's from utilities on line 9. If I actually click that, it brings me right to that location in the file that looks like the file I created, as opposed to the file that Babel spits out and actually runs in the browser. Source maps are super powerful, and they make the developer tools in your browser still useful, even though you're using all these other tools like Babel and Webpack behind the scenes. All right, that's where we're going to stop for this video. In the next several videos, we're going to go through the process together, and then as a challenge of converting some of the projects we've already built over to the new boilerplate project with the module system. I'm really excited to dive into this. This is where we're going to see the true advantages of working with this setup. So let's go ahead and jump right in.